to be informed. This is my show.
Wrong. This is my show. Welcome to Mayor Stewart's edition of Be Informed.
This is my show. Listen, what is going on in the city? I mean, I've been watching and I've been on social media and everyone is they have their opinions. Like, everyone wants to run the city, right? Is that what's going on? Well, you know me. I'm like the voice of the streets and the voice of reason here. So you know me. I'm not scared. I will talk. I will, because if you could shoot your shot, then I can do the same. And I think it's only fair that you do as well. I mean, I don't think you're scared either, because you know me, my mouth. I'm going to ask you some questions now.
That is why you're here, Stevie. So listen, we want to thank everybody for tuning in to the first episode that we did, where we talked about who paid for it, and we talked about a lot of controversial things with the city. So everybody started commenting, and I have to thank everyone for viewing on who left comments, because it kind of got us thinking that we need to get more community people involved in this show. Right. And so Stevie immediately came to mind. He tried to hijack it. I don't know if y'all saw that, but he's hijacking my show today, which is fine, because
I'm just gonna sip my tea.
We need to, like Kermit, and we need to hear, and I need to answer or clear up a lot of misconceptions, perhaps, on what people think out there on what goes on in the city.
Because you know, New Britain is my city. Like, this is I have their back, so I'm gonna ask you the questions, but I know you're not scared to.
And I have their back too,
right?
So
because you are from this city, and I think that people fail to realize that, Erin, that you actually grew up in this city.
Born and raised.
So, like, when there's something like no one's cleaning up the streets, I think that you're affected by that as well. But anyways, let's get right into this question. We'll get back to you on that question.
Okay.
Maybe on the next show. Now, my first question will be, I heard, rumor has it, that there's going to be free Wi-Fi for the entire city. Like, now, who's paying for that? Because I've been to like California and to Miami, and there's like no free Wi-Fi. Like, who's paying for this, Erin?
So that's a rumor, but we have talked about it. Okay. So we discussed a little bit on how we could offer free Wi-Fi for everybody, but only in certain areas. We do currently have free Wi-Fi for everybody in the downtown area and in certain parks. So if you're going through like Walnut Hill Park, you'll see the Wi-Fi pop up.
Oh, wow.
If you're in downtown, you'll see the public Wi-Fi pop up.
Girl, I didn't even know that. I'm using all my data and stuff. Like, I'm getting...
So, but for the whole city, it would cost a lot of money.
Right.
But we're still exploring it. We started talking to some different companies about it, but here's the problem. They only want you to use their company.
Okay.
So, like, let's say we use Comcast, for example.
Yes.
You could only get your Wi-Fi from Comcast, even if AT&T was cheaper. So it doesn't really make sense for us when you know that you're bound to one provider, because you want to search around and try to get the best price.
You're right. And then I kind of feel like everyone will get excited about this, but then the moment is coming out of the budget, I think that that's where people get upset. Like, they get excited with all these ideas, and then when you execute them, this is what I think. Like, you execute them and then people get upset because the money is coming out of the budget.
Taxes.
Right. And people are paying these taxes.
And then people get upset because their taxes
But the Wi-Fi
is
for us as a city, so...
It would be everybody collectively paying for the infrastructure to make it happen. So you think, like, when you have Wi-Fi, you have to lay fiber down.
Right.
The whole city would have to have fiber cables that are laid down in them. It would be extremely, extremely expensive. But that doesn't mean that there's not other opportunities that you can look at. So one thing that we found out was that, I hate to bring up Comcast again and put them on blast, but they do have an option for low-income people if you're not working or if you don't make a lot of money.
Okay.
It's a special program that they have, and it's only like $10 a month. And all you have to do is call them up and ask. So
wow, you're being informed. Go ahead.
Yes. So all you have to do is call them up and ask and say, I'm not employed, or I'm currently on disability or whatever, and they have a special program just for you. It's like $10 a month. So, and that would be cheaper for the person living there rather than raising their taxes to pay for something that we might not be able to afford.
Wow. Speaking of the city and making it so beautiful, because, let me tell you something. I grew up in this city. One thing I could say is that it's starting to look really pretty. There was a point in time, and don't get mad at me, but I was like, and you know what? People can't get mad, because I know you either thought this before or you said it, but you just don't want to admit it. People used to say, like, New Britain is an ugly town.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a ghost town. Me coming from New York, like, in the early, 90s, or not even, the early 90s, I come here, my family migrates here, not from another country, but from New York. New York is like another country, let me just say.
Basically.
And I was just like, this city is like a ghost town, and I feel like ever since you've been the mayor of the city, I think that a lot of it has developed a lot. So speaking of developing, where I'm going with this is the bridge, the Beehive Bridge. So who's paying for all this construction and stuff? Like, what's going on?
So many people ask about that,
Right.
and I have to be honest about like how the whole project started, because it is being paid for out of different grant applications that we filed. So when Fast Track was put in, CT Fast Track, the bus service, everybody knows and uses that. When that was put in, it opened up so many opportunities for the city to apply for federal money.
Right.
Only to be used for certain infrastructure projects.
Right.
So my hands were writing as fast as I could, typing as fast as I could to write as many grants as possible to get as much money.
Right.
So we received over $4 million
Wow.
just for that bridge in grants. So that's not what you're paying for out of your local tax bill. It's coming from other sources that are only made available for specific projects like that. Now, the bridge is not...
That's not what I was told now, you know. So
Because
that's why it's time to be informed, you
A
know.
lot of people don't understand.
That's why I'm asking the questions.
Thank you. Because a lot of people always say, like, they'll always jump to say, like, oh, you're spending all this money on a bridge, but why don't you put it towards education? Well, you can't. Because when I apply for money that's for bridge work specifically, I can't use it on education. I have to use it for that.
Because they want to know where all the money's going.
But a lot of people also may not understand or see the fact that the bridge was falling apart. So underneath the bridge, we needed to do a lot of improvements with reinforcing the structure.
Okay.
So that's where a lot of the whole reason that it came to be was because we needed to do that work. Now, the art on top of it is a different piece.
Right.
So we wanted to make something that was really attractive.
Yes.
And that would be a staple for the city of New Britain, a place that people could feel like that's New Britain.
Right.
And so we did this whole huge public art project. We had there was 50 or 60 community members that were involved in this process, and they helped us pick that final design with the bees.
Wow. So it's kind of like where in New York you have like Queensboro Bridge. That's like one of the bridges is like now, or you have the Washington Bridge, you know, or the Brooklyn Bridge. It's like New Britain gets its own bridge.
And it'll be unique to us. But
So who's behind that? Get it? Behind that. Like who's behind? Like tell me who thought of that idea? Was it you?
It was.
It was you.
Yeah.
Why? Why did you think?
So that's a good question because a lot of people maybe don't understand the story about the bees. Like
Right.
I'm not just obsessed with bees, okay?
Right.
Like people are always like, oh, how come you're always wearing yellow or you're always
Right.
talking about this?
Right.
There's a reason behind it. So the city seal, if you
Yes.
look on our city seal, there's a beehive on it. And it says our city slogan in Latin is written underneath it.
Oh, okay.
And it says, in translation, industry fills the hive and enjoys the honey. This was from 1871 when our forefathers founded the city of New Britain. But no one's ever talked about the bees.
Right.
That's our history. That's who we
Right.
are. We were founded on this industry. Stanley Works, Corbin Russwin, all of these entities that employed all of our people to be worker bees.
Yes.
And so that's where it comes from. We're a hardworking community. We want to embrace the fact that we're hardworking, we're blue collar at heart,
Right.
and that's what the bee is a testament
And
to.
I feel like a lot of the diversity has to do with that as well because I was informed that like places like Mount Pleasant were built because of like Stanley. So like people came from like New York to like work out here, and then like they provided them with this housing, which then
Even further from New York, look at my family. They came
Right.
from Poland and from Italy
Right.
and lived in public housing
Right.
because they got those jobs.
in Puerto Rico, Dominican
Yeah.
Republic, and I think it's great. I think that the city of New Britain is great. I'm just so happy that we're being informed. We'll be right back.